It's the Kyle Hyman Show on Redeemer Radio.
This is Kyle Hyman here with Andrea Serrani, and one of the things that we talked about last Thursday with Cindy Black here for Theology of the Body Thursday was some of the dangers of technology and the dehumanizing effects of technology. This was totally unrelated that we had this vacation planned. Just a kind of a quick,
like a weekend trip.
Yeah, it was a 4-day weekend that turned into even shorter than that because baseball games getting rescheduled and stuff like that. But we ended up going down to Turkey Run for just a short trip and get away. There's some cabins that you can rent, which are actually, I don't know, it's kind of just like grungy hotel rooms. Mm-hmm. You're still kind of, I think our cabin had maybe 4 little rooms in it that we had a room. There was somebody on the other side of the wall. So like we shared walls with other people still.
Right.
It's not like we were the only people in a cabin.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we had a kitchen and stuff like that. You know, it was just a room and a bathroom.
Yeah.
And it was just right across this little pathway to the inn, which has a restaurant in it and kind of like a big living room area with it was kind of fun. They had some puzzles and some games and stuff like that, but also an indoor swimming pool.
Nice.
So our kids love to swim. So anytime there's swimming opportunities, they also have an outdoor pool. Weather was not conducive for that.
No, it was not a very nice weather weekend.
And that's kind of where this was the weather was not good for hiking. And that was the plan. It was like, we're going to hike. We had like the little baby pouch thing that the little kangaroo thing, like
a baby carrier.
There you go.
Yep.
Sure. And my wife has worn that several times. This was my first time wearing it with this baby and worked out fine, except that the trails were not cooperating. It was raining.
Yeah.
And so we ended up staying in and we ended up going swimming more than we had anticipated with the indoor pool. But one of the things that I tried to do was I'm really going to put my phone away and not take it with me places.
Yeah.
Not have it out, not look at it, not be checking it for things. And so as a result, one, I got way behind on emails and text messages and stuff.
But you were on vacation and it was the weekend anyway.
Yeah. But also, we did this trip to Turkey Run. I don't have any pictures.
Oh, right. Because we take pictures with our phones these days.
Yeah. Well, and even like I have other cameras.
Yeah.
But I intentionally decided not to bring them because I'm always fumbling with charging the batteries and stuff like that.
Instead of just
like I have a GoPro
being present.
And I could have taken that to the pool and gotten some great pictures from underwater shots and stuff like that. It would have been a lot of fun. And with the raining, like we could have taken it on the trails and stuff.
Yeah.
We ended up going on the trails when it kind of cleared up a little bit. It was just sprinkling. But I don't have any pictures. But I was, I think, more present.
Yeah.
Than usual. And this is, like, I hear people doing this. I know Matt Fradd did, I don't know if it was a vacation or just a week without technology or whatever he did. And I remember listening to that and thinking, yeah, but you want to do that. Like you don't like technology in your life.
Right.
Because he talks about it as like, it drives him nuts that he, like having this phone sometimes. Like, I'm not like that. I love technology.
Yeah.
Like,
in fact, we talk about this, that you actually, the year of your birth would not make you a millennial, but you have a lot of millennial sort of tendencies because of your sort of, you'll enjoy technology in the same way that sort of millennials.
Yeah.
That's how they define millennials.
So when I hear Matt Fradd giving up technology, he talks about it in a positive
It's something he desires instead of it being like
to
a
me,
sacrifice.
It's penitential, right? It's
in
a
the same way.
sacrifice to give up technology. But we went out on this hike, and so we don't have any phones with us, nothing, no cameras, no technology. And I think usually there's this it's not a river, but like a creek that goes through this big, like canyon, really.
Mm-hmm.
That was at one time probably a river, that carved
Yeah.
away this canyon. And you usually, I think you just kind of walk across the rocks to get from one side to the other. But because of all the rain that we had, it was much higher. And so we're trying to figure out, we got to the end of like, okay, now what do we do? Do we just turn around and go back? Is there a way to get across this? Because the rocks were kind of poking up. I was like, I kind of think I could do it, but there was some big jumps that you had to make, and then you're jumping onto a slippery rock.
Yeah.
And I've got a baby in a carrier.
Right.
Didn't think it was a good idea. Well, one of my sons decides to take off his shoes and socks, and we're just going to walk across.
Oh.
And he did.
Oh.
He said, go up ahead and look and see if we're going to be able to continue or if this is just going to be, we're going to be turned around anyway. He's like, no, we can keep going. So we all took off our shoes and socks and we walked across this little creek bed. Ended up having to do that 2 more times because we kind of crisscross and crisscross.
Yeah.
And you could see where, had the water been lower, you could have just walked across this. But we were just going through, getting muddy, being in nature, having this experience. And it's one of those things like when everything goes well, there's not much to talk about.
Yeah.
But
It's
this will
just
be
fun.
something we always talk about. That time we went down to Turkey Run, it rained all day when we were planning on going hiking. So we played in the pool. When it did finally clear up, the
It was wet
trails
and
were
muddy
flooded,
and
we had
flooded.
to take off our shoes and socks. These stories, we don't have any pictures, but we have these memories
Yeah.
that we had in a family. And we ended up staying in, and we did turn on the TV for a little bit. We ended up watching fishing
Oh.
on TV.
You could probably watch people fish
I
outside.
have never, ever watched a fishing show. Like, that's one of those automatic, I'm going to the next
thank you.
channel.
Not interested.
But we just sat and watched fishing for a little bit. And then one time when we were sitting there and the lights went out in our cabin.
Oh.
And so what are we going to do? It's raining. The power's out. We had nothing with it. We didn't bring, we bring like some cards or some games or something like that. We didn't bring anything with us.
No toys.
So we decided, let's go swimming. We ended up going swimming 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
in 2 days. So we go over and it's all dark. But there's enough kind of light, an emergency light, like an exit sign light that we're swimming in the dark. And people just kind of keep coming and keep coming. And keep
Everybody's
coming.
having the same idea.
There's nothing else to do. Let's go swimming. And it was a lot of fun until they finally said, the maintenance guys came and said, because our filters aren't working,
Oh, yeah.
we can't let you keep
Can't
swimming.
let you swim.
But we were doing puzzles, we were playing games. Eventually, a couple hours later, the lights turned back on. But for that moment, that idea of like, we can't go outside because it's raining.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to do because there's no electricity. It's such like a modern day
Right.
problem.
Now what?
Like, what do we do? There's no electricity. No, I mean, we actually had some phones and tablets that were battery powered that we could have done.
Yeah.
But the idea of detaching, and this is a little bit different than what we were talking about on Thursday with Cindy. The idea of the dehumanizing effects of technology and how we can kind of get into these ruts with social media, that technology can cause these problems, is different than kind of doing a technology fast of sorts.
Yeah, but even if it's not quite the same, but it does force you to recognize the humanity of the people around you just because you have to pay closer attention to it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not sort of participating in anything that's directly dehumanizing on social media or on the internet or whatever, or with technology, not using it at all and being around other people does force you just to pay attention to them, just to acknowledge them in a way that you wouldn't if you were sort of distracted.
So when is the last time you went a whole day without looking at your phone?
Yeah. So fun fact, when I was on vacation, so 2 weeks ago now, my friends live in the mountains in Virginia, right by Shenandoah National Park. And I don't get cell reception there. So they have like Wi-Fi I can use. So it's not like I was totally out of communication completely, but if I'm not in their house or if I need cell reception, like, so I could only text if someone had an iPhone and I could only use the internet if we were at their house. I barely use my phone at all because I couldn't. And then it was like, I didn't want to because we just played with our kids outside and worked on making dinners. I mean, so my vacation was basically, people were like, oh, what are you guys going to do? And I was like, well, we're just going to stay at their house. And not because we don't have anything else to do. It's just, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we did. Our kids played outside and we watched them and talked, and it was awesome.
Right. And I did Exodus 90 earlier this year, and people might remember talking about that. And one of the things is to really cut back on technology consumption. But I didn't go like cold turkey at any point. I didn't.
Yeah, just not have it at all. Yeah, it was just reduced or only
and
for
I can't
specific
really think
purposes.
I can't think of a time in the past 10 years that I went a whole day without some kind of technology use. Even this trip.
Yeah.
Like we had a TV there. Like I said, we watched this fishing show for a while. Or, we had phones and tablets that we could pull out. And maybe I did get a text message here or there. But now I'm it almost kind of like piqued my interest of like, okay, what if I did go a whole weekend without a phone? Like if I left it at home even.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why does that seem like a big deal?
Yeah. Why does that seem crazy to us to not have a phone with us?
Why does that make me nervous?
And it's funny because, it was only, I didn't get a cell phone until I was in high school. So we're talking about like, it's only 15 years ago, less than 15 years ago, that I didn't have a phone with me when I left my house. Ever.
Yeah. I graduated from college.
Yeah.
And then got a phone.
Less than half of my life that I didn't have a cell phone. But so why is it such a big deal now? You know what I mean? So Apple has this new technology for iPhones and things like that, downtime that you can schedule. That it'll sort of lock you out of your apps. I mean, you can get around it. You can say ignore and ignore for 15 minutes or whatever, or ignore for the whole day, but it will lock you out of apps that you set up. So I've been experimenting with that so that instead of like even just having the temptation of, oh, I'll just check Twitter or I'll look at the news or whatever, because it's not just, so I'm glad that you're talking about it as just technology in general or something like that, because it's not just, the temptation is to be like, oh, those millennials and their social media, but it's not just social media. It can be anything that's sort of addicting you and attaching you in a way that you're not paying. It can be, I'm always looking at news sites, or I always have the news on in the background at my house.
Or checking stock prices.
Or I'm checking stock prices, or I'm checking whatever it is.
Sports scores.
Yeah, anything like that. I'm always reading gossip magazines, whatever it is. It can be anything that is just always distracting you from the things you should be focused on, whether that's your family or God or the people around you or whatever that is. But all of us can just be more intentional about, so I have downtime on my phone. So I work still in the mornings, and then I have downtime scheduled on my phone for like 4 hours in the afternoon so that I'm just focusing on my kids. And it's great.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Might look into something like that as well. All right, a challenge for myself. Maybe it's a challenge for you as well. Something to think about.